Hello, and welcome to Legalbytes. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. We don't give legal advice, but we do talk about how the law works and try to look into our crystal ball to see how things might turn out. If you're enjoying this on YouTube, we'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, all the great YouTube-y stuff. And if you want to listen while out and about, we're now offering our live streams in podcast form where you can leave a rating and review. Links are in the description below, as well as to our clips channel where you can find some of the best clips taken from our live streams. Otherwise, if you want to catch me elsewhere, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Locals, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube member, or by buying some really awesome Legalbytes merch. Again, all links are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. All right. So, hello, and welcome everyone to another edition of Latest in the Law. I have with me, of course, Mr. Ian Runkle of the channel Runkle of the Bailey. Hey, Ian, how's it going?
Hey, so far so good. It's chaotic times we live in, but doing pretty well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here again. I know it's been a while. And then someone who it hasn't been a while is Kurt.
What's up?
Also known as uncivil law, also known today as unbreaded law. What's that about?
Well, you know very well what it's about. But Nick Rikita apparently has decided to become very fascinated by this 800-page manifesto by a postdoc of UCLA who has since been kicked out of school and has been arrested pending charges of stalking, harassing, and other things, who is clearly certifiable. And one of the key takeaways from this manifesto is something about unbreaded. I'm not sure what it means, but it's important. And this is going to be a meme for a little while, I've decided.
I like it. And we have, for the first time ever on the channel, Mr. Nate DeBruin, also known as PhotoChad. How's it going?
It's going. You know, my life's crazy.
I know. You were expecting to be done with everything by this point, right?
I really was, yes.
Yeah. So for anyone that for some reason is not familiar with Nate DeBruin, he was, of course, one of the big witnesses in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and his testimony was incredibly helpful for showing Kyle Rittenhouse's ultimate innocence, and also for showing a lot of the craziness going on at the Kenosha district attorney's office. So you know, it's and the thing that is really unfortunate is that, you know, when you are serving as a witness, you're there because you are required to be there by the court. You're served with a subpoena. If you try to ignore it, there are some significant penalties. And then when you're there, you have to tell the truth because you're speaking under penalty of perjury. So you know, it's unfortunately you've gotten a lot of blowback for your testimony because people, you know, have somehow said that, you know, you were supporting a murderer or whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, telling what you saw and what you what you heard, the photos that you took along the way, you did what you were supposed to do, and now you've gotten a lot of crap, and so that's kind of continued, right?
Yeah.
So for anyone that isn't really aware of the Ziminski trial, the Joshua Ziminski trial, it's related to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Do you want to give a little bit of background on that and your involvement in that trial?
So what I can speak on is my involvement in the trial, and that is I am subpoenaed for a photo that I took of allegedly Joshua Ziminski is in this photo by the right in front of a trailer that is on fire, tipped on its side that is on fire. And that is my only role in this trial. I am trying, it should have been open and closed real fast, but it got postponed, unfortunately. And I can't speak on anything beyond that into the new incident that has happened. I can't speak on that.
Okay.
But
You can. You're free. I believe in you. You can do it.
No.
Hey, now let's not cause any trouble here.
Yeah, seriously, we don't want to cause more trouble for than what you've already been in so far.
Yeah, and then get you guys all subpoenaed in.
I know I'm overseas. Good luck getting me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are they gonna cover my airfare or what?
Yeah, I know it's a business expense.
I'm writing this up as a consultation meeting. That's what I'm doing. It's all privilege.
Except that we're not giving legal advice, right? So, but yeah. So what has been, and you don't need to acknowledge any of this if it makes you uncomfortable or whatever. But what did come out is that you were supposed to testify on Monday about this photo, right? And on your way into the courthouse. I have seen footage of, security camera footage of Joshua Ziminski and his family, I guess, approaching you holding the big blown up version of your photo and kind of backing away from him. And there's sort of this confrontation that happens. And then what was reported by your attorney to Judge Schrader was that Joshua Ziminski came up to you, was harassing you about the photo, about your testimony, and that is completely improper. So for anybody that isn't aware of this whole timeline, so where trial was supposed to be happening on Monday, instead Judge Schrader upped Mr. Ziminski's bail from $1,000 to $14,000, and then he was subsequently arrested and I guess has been sitting in jail because I don't think he has that kind of money to get out of jail. And now they're investigating as to whether or not they should add charges for witness intimidation. So I totally understand you not wanting to comment, directly on this kind of stuff, because where there's an active investigation, it can get tricky to comment on it.
And I can I will say that I have talked to the detectives as of this morning that are investigating it.
Okay. So it is active and it is moving forward.
Correct.
So that's good. So since that time, it looks like Ziminski's lawyer filed a request for reduction of bail and basically to sort of fight against these new potential charges. I don't know so those are public record.
Yes.
I don't want to share the images, of course, but I have seen it. I've got to say, I'm not impressed. Not impressed with the argument at all. So yeah. So I guess we can point to, because you did say on Twitter that basically the whole argument is you've been somehow using your popularity from the Rittenhouse trial and from the Ziminski trial to garner financial support from the public or whatever, and that therefore his bail should be lowered. That's the argument.
I don't know how that works exactly. How is what PhotoChad has or has not done relevant to the danger or flight profile of Ziminski, which is the factors for bail?
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to make a credibility attack, but honestly, the one thing that's been really clear from the previous trials is that, PhotoChad is the guy that you cannot shake the credibility of. When they took a run at you and they're like, hey, we didn't talk to you and we didn't ask you to change your testimony.
That was a great movie.
Stone-faced, yeah, you did. It's some of the most clearly honest testimony I've seen. So yeah. But they got to do what they got to do, right? They're running, a file for their clients there, so they got to do what they got to do. But it seems like a real reach, especially given how much this has blown up your life. And then they're like, oh, well, we blew up this guy's life, but he's trying to rebuild. How dare he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I took from it. Like,
yeah,
it's just,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it just didn't make sense to me when I first saw that motion. I was like, "Are you serious? Like, what does this have to do with anything?"
Yeah, and especially because reading the argument, I was looking for where they tried to tie that to arguing that you somehow provoked him so that you could then go and garner financial support. But they didn't make that argument. They didn't even say that. They didn't, like, they didn't say that it didn't happen. They didn't say that, you said something to provoke it, to that you were somehow the initial aggressor. There was nothing along those lines. So I basically, like, my reading of Ziminski's request, the filing that they filed, the request for reduced bail, my reading of it is it's complete trash. It also I don't like trashing other lawyers. I don't like it. I don't really get joy out of it.
I'm gonna do it right now.
Like, it is necessary sometimes.
But sometimes you find work product that is so bad that it just really irks you. Like this one, it felt like it had been written in 10 minutes because it felt like it had been just copy pasted from another one that this attorney had used elsewhere.
Oh, that totally happened. Oh, that for sure happened.
God.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
No. As I'm fond of saying, plagiarism isn't a sin in our profession so much as a collective pastime.
Yeah.
We believe in the plagiarism. We plagiarize the ever living shit out of each other. It's great. So yeah, the fact that this copy pasted, I believe that. Sure.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
well, I mean,
is,
in the first paragraph, the petition refers to the defendant as a woman. So that's a pretty bad oversight. Sorry, Ian, I totally just talked over you.
Oh, there's a difference though between I'm reusing an old precedent in order to to save time, because you don't want to rewrite everything from scratch. That's no lawyer's doing that. But when they go through and they like leave in old names and
you're gonna want to proof that one.
Yeah, you got to check that.
Proof that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But it might be possible that in my career I might have made a copy paste mistake before once or twice. So
But this one, was, that's not the only like typo mistake here. It also refers to Judge Schrader as Jude Schrader, like Jude Law, Jude Schrader, and then and
like an alternative spelling of judgment. Now is that what we're going for?
No, it's like literally they just missed the G.
Okay, yeah. Well, which is very sad because he is the G, and
yeah, and then it's like it basically just copies and pastes sections of Nate's Give Send Go website, communications that he has from there, and where one hello Mr. Good Logic.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you,
Hello.
Mighty? Oh, you're not Mighty. Yeah, my British is terrible.
So we were just talking about the petition by Ziminski's lawyer to request a lower bail than $14,000, and I was talking about how terrible it is because it looked like it was drafted in about 10 minutes and didn't have any kind of review over it before it was submitted. But it's like it has sections from the Give Send Go website, but it doesn't have any clear indications of like where this attorney's argument starts and where and then where it's interjected by, portions from the website. And then it doesn't, and then it kind of transitions back into argument and then it goes back in, but it's like, you really have to kind of, it's not very well put together to make things clear.
Hodgepodge is the word we use.
Yes. Yeah. So and on that note, speaking of the Give Send Go website, there is a link down in the description below to it. Nate did not ask me to do this. So, Mr. Ziminski's lawyer, if you happen to be watching, this was not requested. Nate, I consider a personal friend of mine now because he's been over to my childhood home. He's met my family.
What's the coupon code?
He narrowly escaped.
What's the coupon code?
There is no coupon code, but I also put it in the chat just now.
I do just want to say, is that my new Give Send Go one? Because my old one is disabled.
Oh shoot. Let me take a look.
It should end in a 2 if it's a new one.
Oh no, it ends with a 4.
You're like living back in 2020 or something.
I guess so. Let me see here. No, but it has recent donations as recent as photos by Nate D2. Yeah, no, this is right.
Okay.
This is correct. Okay, sorry.
Does
It was
do I
just
have you like PhotoChad?
yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes, you have the shirt that I gave you or that I sent you, after you get I realized this was also a missed opportunity. I should be wearing my PhotoChad t-shirt that you gave me when we met up in California.
You could
But,
change. Just saying, we'll hold it down for you. Instead, you want to pimp your own channel with a Legalbytes shirt.
I know, and I already have the mug. I might do that. But I really do feel like, like you're a friend of mine at this point, like I said, you had dinner with my family, you narrowly escaped Omicron, even though basically the rest of us got it. and so, I want to, send out your Give Send Go again to make sure that if anybody else wants to donate, please do, because obviously this means that because the trial has been extended, that means you have more more time with an attorney representing you, which means more legal fees, more time talking to lawyers, of course.
That's a benefit, though. And more time with lawyers, man. That's great.
Everyone wants that, right?
A dream come true.
You should be paying them. Oh wait, you are.
I know.
No.
But the what was I going to say?
Because I love.
So, it's this increases your expenses, of course, on top of everything. And the whole reason why, you set up, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the whole reason why you set up the Give Send Go was because of the expenses now that you have to pay for just for being someone who happened to be in a place where something happened and you had to testify, and people have a lot of feelings about that event.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's one thing about this the motion. If, the very last couple of sentences where it says, therefore, I respectfully request that Ziminski's bond be reinstated to the amount that it was already in effect prior to Attorney Rose and DeBruin asserted themselves into the Mr. Ziminski case. I didn't insert myself. I was subpoenaed.
Was asserted or something. Yeah, but that's not fair.
Yeah.
You're just a guy who took some photographs. You're a guy. I mean, you're a guy who took the photographs. These are the photographs I took. Are these the photographs they took? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, what more do you want from me? Really,
Yeah. Witnesses don't get to decide if they participate in a trial. Like, they don't get to say no. They don't get to say, throw me on the field, coach. So
there's really good reason for that, right? Because if you're sitting there and a critical witness for your defense is somebody who hates you, you still want to be able to drag them in. But you got to recognize that when we're dealing with witnesses, like, most of them don't want to be there. They've got day jobs. Court sucks. Nobody wants to go up and get cross-examined. Nobody wants to, spend the day with Binger is not. Nobody's going to buy tickets to that. So,
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Exactly.
I was thinking that maybe it'd be a good career move to try and insert myself into the Rittenhouse trial so I can get subpoenaed by a district attorney and then go on the internet and basically ask people to help me out after I get harassed relentlessly by random strangers on the street.
That is a lot of vision. I'm just saying, if that was the plan, that is a lot of vision.
You would have to know even before the event happened to be there at the event, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, it's and I've had other people from Kenosha also reach out to me talking about how they had to move. And they've been kind of dealing with fallout related to that because of the all of the trauma that happened in Kenosha, and I guess is just continuing to be felt in so many different ways. So,
Definitely.
I mean, yeah.
When you have to drive down some of the same roads all the time and see the same things that remind you of that night, or still dealing with it a year and a half later, and it's just it's gets to a point where it's easier to just take myself out of that situation, and it's nothing like, oh, I don't hate Kenosha, but for my well-being, I can't live here.
Yeah.
And
No, I
that's
definitely
tragic.
understand that. Yeah, and it's hard because like that's when that's your home, the place that you call home. Like, who wants to leave home, right? So,
correct. Like my
yeah.
parents live here. All my family lives here.
yeah, ugh, man, that's rough. But I totally understand that. So let's get a few super chats because I think we got some talking to you, Nate. So well, this one isn't, but so Bogey34 says, "Thank you, Kurt, for our daily unredded."
Unbreaded.
Tim Riggs says, "I rarely super chat these days, but wanted to say hi to Mr. PhotoChad. Watched your testimony live and big respect to you for manning up and standing up to unnecessarily combative ADAs, my man." 100% agree.
Thank you.
100%. Yes. Britt Cormier says, "Look at law tubers getting based non-lawyers onto the streams. I can only assume it is a tactic to make me hate them less. However, this ploy will not work on me. My hate for them goes so deep they will never be able to overcome it with these stunts." Well, I appreciate your hatred.
Yeah, that's what hatred looks like, right? Yeah.
Then I love it. Uncle Bob's Bees says, "I have a Nate photo. The website doesn't do them justice. Order one now." Oh, that's a good point too. Hey,
Thank you.
Nate, if you want to send me a link to your website again, if you can, if you know where the private chat is on
Yeah.
StreamYard, send it to me and I'll put it in the description also.
Okay.
So that would be good. And then one more. Anti-Commie says, "I'm from Kenosha. I was at the event. Case is over, so I'm okay saying it. I carried Huber's corpse to the curb. Holy crap. I drive
Wow.
down Sheridan Road every day to work. Combat vet, so I'm not wrecked, but I get it." Oh my God. Holy crap. I had no idea. But, you know, like I said, every once in a while, people from Kenosha and from the area reach out and they talk about these things. And it's a lot. It's a lot to go through. And I mean, so combat veterans, you know, sometimes you've got other I guess other how should I put it? Other conditioning, you know, like you've seen this kind of stuff maybe. So, you know, sometimes like, you know, wrapping your head around these kinds of events can be easier. But yeah. So anyhow, photosbyNateD.com. It's in the chat right now. So, and I will also put it in the description. So if anybody is interested in buying some of his awesome photos, do that as well. So that would be a great.
Hang on, I spelled that. That's spelled wrong. My bad.
Oh no.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, is there an S?
Nathan,
Yes.
have you had a chance yet to update the labeling on it, or you haven't had a chance to do that yet?
I have not. I actually this morning met with detectives in regards to the intimidation case.
No, okay. No, the reason I was asking, he was when he was on my stream the other night. So what I realized is that some of the photos he has available for purchase are photos that ended up becoming exhibits in the Rittenhouse trial, which now make them like a piece of like Americana. So that's why I thought he's probably best off identifying photos. He takes a little research to find out what exhibit number was associated with him. But, you know, to reference it like from the Rittenhouse trial, exhibit, you know, 352, whatever. And that way it's like you're not just buying a photo that you like, but it's like, oh, wow, this is like a piece of like, you know, actual from the trial itself. That's kind of makes it like a little bit cooler. So I just wanted to, so I shared that suggestion with him that he should update the specific photos that became exhibits with their exhibit number. And this way people,
I like that.
That way people know that, hey, I'm buying like a piece of like the Rittenhouse trial. It's pretty cool.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That is awesome. So, you know, Nate, now that we've kind of talked about, you know, the events that transpired and the argument that is, I feel like it's sure to lose by Ziminski's lawyer. Is there anything that you want to say to people about this whole situation? I know you don't really want to comment on it, but you know, anything else?
I do just want to say that in regards to the motion, there's many expenses that people don't take into play, such as it's a beginning of a new year. My deductible that I was so close to meeting last year don't mean nothing this year. And so it resets. So it's like I have to pay all these bills before I even get any discounts or anything like that. And things get expensive. And then, like I said, more attorney fees have accumulated and things like that. And when I wasn't out there trying to do anything for profit, but trying to each give, send, go stated clearly what the funds were going to be used for. And I was trying, this new give, send, go was to try to get me out of Kenosha, because this isn't the place for my well-being right now, and that's recommended from doctors and a lot of things. And but unfortunately, I have to have money to be able to do it, and then to get accused of doing this for profit, like it's sickening to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think that so the one part about this is I put myself in the shoes of Ziminski's lawyer. And if I were in his position, you know, he does have a duty to zealously advocate for his client. So he has to at least try, right? He has to put a good faith effort to try to advocate for his client, as crazy as he may be. And so I think that this is just the fact that they are reaching for the image of the give, send, go, I think is an indication that they really have no other argument. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that they could possibly point to in this case.
If you're just there to identify a photo, there's not a whole lot you're going to want to cross-examine on anyway. It's like, is this your photo? Yes.
Is it true and accurate representation? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, have you done anything to change the photo or edit the photo? No, it's just the photo I took. Like, how many questions can you ask? It's like, you know, I'll just testify for you because I already know all the answers.
And as we were discussing also, arguably his testimony helps Ziminski. He's a beneficial witness to Ziminski in that everything he said in the Rittenhouse trial was basically saying that Binger's office is out to get Ziminski, more so than even Rittenhouse. So in that sense, it's so bizarre to think that he has some sort of bias against Ziminski or he's out to get Ziminski when his testimony is beneficial, potentially. It's very beneficial, probably more beneficial than almost any other testimony Ziminski is going to get.
True.
Yeah,
from Ziminski himself.
It's the wrong fight to pick here. Let's pick a fight with a potentially friendly witness.
More friendly, at least.
But I mean, this is assuming that this is someone that is actually thinking strategically and thinking logically, right?
I think
based on
you called it. They don't have anything else. It's you know, that's what you got to do. If you don't have anything else, you run with crap. But
one of the my earliest litigations is the first time I heard a phrase from my adversary who mistakenly claimed, but did make a claim that stuck in my brain forever, that there's an old adage that lawyers have, which is when the facts are against you, pound the table on the law. You should scream about the law. When the law is against you, scream about the facts. And both the law and facts are against you, scream your head off.
Yep.
So,
or isn't it pound the table? Isn't that what Viva says?
Yeah, pound the table. Yeah, I'm sure it's phrased different ways. But
that's the Canadian version. Yeah. Same thing.
But yeah, so I definitely agree. I think that the facts are definitely not on their side on this specific argument. And I mean, you know, about the case in general, well, we'll see, but there's plenty of video evidence, right? But I do think that, you know, as personal as it feels for you, because I can definitely empathize, Nate, because, you know, this is something that has been your way of climbing out of the hole that was created, you know, through no fault of your own. And so this is like somebody trying to criticize that or trying to use that against you. And I definitely understand that feeling very, very personal. But I think that this is just a lawyer that's trying to reach for whatever they possibly can in this situation, which still sucks. It still sucks to go through, and it's still, you know, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? So, but I urge you not to take it too personally, if you know, if at all possible.
I know, like, I understand Ziminski's lawyer has a job to do, just like all these district attorneys, and like, it just sucks that I'm the one that's always on the other side of it right now.
Oh, God, yeah, I know. So so it looks like the trial has been moved to March 26th.
28th, I think.
Or 28th. Oh, okay. You would probably know.
He would probably know. He's been told in writing.
I've been subpoenaed again.
You've been voluntold.
Go directly to trial. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do believe it's the 28th.
Okay. So yeah, so then I'll take your word for it then, because you like I said, you would know better than me. But so end of March 28th is when the trial should be picking up, and hopefully this will actually be the end of it. So we'll see if any charges. Go ahead.
Always the civil complaints.
That morning I sat in court for 3 hours before they made that decision.
That sucks.
Yeah, I get the court. Judge Schroeder is extremely busy. There was a lot of cases on his plate that day, and then also a lot of trials scheduled. There was like 13 or 14 trials scheduled for that day, and Ziminski was going to be the second one. So,
oh man!
And then suddenly, I don't know how we were that close, and then now we were months away.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah. I mean, it's I understand that they have to do a whole investigation for it. And so they have to, really make sure that they do their due diligence on all of the claims and everything. So, and there's constitutional requirements and whatnot. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But yeah, so at least hopefully it will be finished before April 1st, right? For you at least, right?
Yes, hopefully. I'm really hoping.
All right. Well, I will definitely be marking my calendar. I know the rest of Law 2 probably will be as well. So we'll be paying close attention to
and
this.
I can definitely let you guys know if anything happens or changes.
Yeah, please do. And otherwise, so I think we can probably move on to one of our other topics. Nate, if you want to hang around, for for talking about these other legal issues, you're more than welcome to. But otherwise, you can if you've got other stuff that you've got to do, other places to be, up to you.
Definitely, I'll hang out for a little bit. I have some time.
Cool. All right. So let me get this one super chat, and then we'll move on to either Avenatti or Joe Rogan. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Forever Keeper says, "Hi, Alita, Kurt, Joe, Ian, and Nathan. I'm joining late on my lunch break. Ian, from one Canadian to another, thoughts on truckers in Ottawa? Personally, I think their protest has merits. Thank you all. Keep up the great work." I know I asked you about this earlier, Ian, and you mentioned that you kind of wanted to stay out of political waters.
I try to avoid sort of politics mostly on my channel.
Your mic got really bad.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Is it any better here?
It sounds distorted, crackly.
Worse.
It's
way worse.
It's really
okay, give me just 1 second. I'm not trying to get out of
it. Sounds fine now.
Oh yeah, it's
totally ducking out of this whole thing.
It's I'm guessing it's the internet here causing me some issues, but so I try to stay out of politics, but the thing is that this one's going to be complicated because there's so many different people there doing different things, some of whom may be running afoul of various offenses. But at the end of the day, it's really interesting to see the scale of this protest. And, you don't always have to agree with protests. That's not what protests are about. People are allowed to go protest and to do so in ways that are often obnoxious. So that's kind of there's this big whole thing about people now are asking for them to invoke like the Emergencies Act and stuff like that. And I'm just like, holy crap, is that where we are as a society, that we want to shut down
sounds like
protests?
some bullshit, yeah.
And I took some flack from people sort of around me because with previous protests, I was going, yeah, okay, they're protesting, they're a pain in the butt, but they've got a right to do so. When there are protests that, whether or not you agree with them or not, people, it's like, so it's tough, but people want me to keep giving sort of a legal opinion on this. And it's like, well, it really depends, because what are you doing? Are you blocking a hospital? If so, you're probably not going to be covered under, various protections. But if you're just driving around being a nuisance, we've got free expression protections here. And so you're probably covered under that. It's going to be interesting, but I really hope that this, the other problem is that there's a few people, and there's not many of them, but there's a few people out there who are, going around waving objectionable symbols. Somebody in Parliament now wants to push through a ban on swastikas. And I'm like, as much as, flying a swastika makes you a giant jackass, I still don't agree with, like the restrictions on speech. And I don't think that they could pass a constitutional challenge. But those guys are making the whole movement look bad. So, I mean, if you guys are out there and the guy next to you is flying a swastika, maybe you want to tell him to go home. Like, that guy can go home. He's making everyone else look bad. There's always going to be
people like that. There's always, especially, it's just a law of numbers thing.
Oh, absolutely.
When you get this number of people involved, there's going to be unavoidable. I did take exception, strong exception to the news, which was focusing on this one Confederate flag. I mean, is that really the takeaway story? The one guy with the Confederate flag, really? I was like, we had to look long and hard, but eventually we were going to find him. I mean, I could have told you he was there without looking, just based on numbers. But it's like undermining everything else that's going on, whether you agree with it or not. Let's talk about the actual story.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I always note is that whenever there's a protest, of this size, some of the people involved may not be people who actually sympathize with the movement. So it's always difficult to tell what exactly is going on there. And I guess I'll cut it off there after sort of hinting at the issue. But
no, that's always possible. You always have the potential possibility of people who are opposed, who are deliberately trying to appear to be on your side, and
have faces that radiate, that radiate and glow.
There's also the possibility of law enforcement activity. That's also a possibility, yes, that we should not ignore.
If there's a big protest, you should assume that there's law enforcement there, and Canadian law enforcement has a lengthy tradition of provocateurs in crowds. So
great.
I can't say whether these guys are or not, but the police have not covered themselves in glory here in Canada with how they deal with protests. And so it raises concerns here. So we'll see. But it's a hornet's nest.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds like one. So I understand your desire to kind of limit the comments on it, but I also understand why people are very interested in getting your take. I know Viva's he's been live streaming from the protest, right?
Yeah, and he's a little closer to it. For me, it's several provinces away, and
you're not allowed to travel.
Yeah, well, travel is not a whole lot of fun, and also from what I understand, if you're out there, it's fairly difficult to find accommodation and so forth because everything is shutting down. So it's not a good place to travel right now.
Oh, man. Makes sense. Well, shall we talk about the Joe Rogan situation?
Oh, yes.
Let's do it.
I have thoughts.
Let's do it. So I had Rick Hogue on the channel. Oh, Nate the lawyer's in the chat. Nate, I sent you a link if you want to join. It's in your DMs. But I also understand if you have other stuff going on. So anyway, so the whole situation with Joe Rogan, I had Rick Hogue on my channel on Tuesday, talking about this, and we had a really great, interesting conversation, all about corporate messaging and the potential for tortious interference with business interests, with a contract, because Neil Young's statement that got pulled down almost immediately was very it was like we all had whiplash from that, right? Like the statement was up, the statement was down. Like what happened there? So there's a lot of interesting stuff that we can talk about. So just for a little bit of context, for anyone that for some reason is not aware, of the controversy surrounding the world's biggest podcast. Joe Rogan has had a number of controversial people on his channel many times, right? I mean, he's had like 1,500 people on his channel at this point because he's been doing it for so long. But most recently, he's been talking a lot about COVID. He's been talking a lot about, the pandemic, a lot of the policies and just the science that's kind of come out. And so he's had Sanjay Gupta on his channel. He's had people like Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough. And those last two were the ones that, excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my voice. Those last two were the ones that were, I guess, a bit controversial, even though both of them are part of the field. They're physicians, I guess. I think it was which one of them? Dr. Malone was the mRNA researcher for many years.
The reasons they're controversial is because of the conclusions they reach, not because of their credentials.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy reached the wrong conclusion.
The guy kind of invented mRNA, although that's being just now undermined. So yeah, he has some history.
Yeah. I'm at least partially involved. I mean, I think more than one. He was part of the, I guess, team or the evolution of mRNA. He certainly knows more about it than 99 out of 100 doctors. So.
Anyhow, so the interviews that he did with them, I have not seen them. I haven't. It's been a minute since I've watched really any Joe Rogan podcast episodes, but I have watched a lot of them in the past. That was how I came to know of Tim Dillon, for example, the comedian, and he's hilarious and I love his stuff. And a bunch of other people, like he's got comedians, he's got scientists, he's got journalists, he's got all kinds of people that basically the main criteria is, are you talking about something that is interesting to Joe Rogan? And he makes that decision. And so the controversy that happened was, of course, after these two doctors were on his show and they were talking about reaching the quote unquote wrong conclusions, right? There was the open letter that came out by the 270 doctors saying that they wanted Spotify to take him down. And and Kurt just put up some air quotes because yes, apparently they were all doctors, but I think only about 100 of them were physicians. Even though I suppose the letter actually said we as physicians. So, misrepresentation of licensing is, I don't know, wrong. but there was a lot of nuance that was not reported when the mainstream media reported that letter. So anyway, then came Neil Young, who said, I have a bunch of music on Spotify. I'm going to write this letter and put it on my website where I say, hey, Spotify, I don't like the fact that you have Joe Rogan on your platform. He's spewing a lot of misinformation, according to the powers that be. And I think that I don't like being associated with that. So it's either him or me.
And to which we said your terms are acceptable. Thank you for being on Spotify. We hope maybe you'll come back in the future. And like, wait, no, not like that.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like that's the proper response to most ultimatums. When somebody says, do this or else I walk, it's like, okay, but if I do actually go along with this, you're going to have a series of ultimatums in the future. So walk.
It's a really complex question that I was trying to break down in my brain yesterday. So, because I'm very against cancel culture in general, and that's what this seems to be aimed at. And at the same time, I do support the idea of saying, okay, if I don't like this person, I'm not going to support them. So
absolutely, or associate with them.
And how is that? So then the question is, so I was trying to figure out, isn't that also a form of cancel culture? I was doing this on my show last night, really working with my audience, trying to figure out why A feels okay and B feels terrible. And I sort of came to a conclusion, and then I was trying to figure out the whole Spotify situation. So, I mean, let me just, if I can just get a moment to sort of clear my thoughts on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really was talking about the Whoopi Goldberg situation, which I think we're going to be talking about, and the fact that she's been suspended. And I personally do not believe that she even though I'm Jewish, and I feel that what she said was hateful and borderline racist, and the response by the ADL makes me want to puke. I'm really angry at them, much more than her. But I think canceling her is wrong. I don't think she should be canceled. I don't think that people calling for her to cancel her are right. And at the same time, then I look at what's happening with Joe Rogan and people saying that he should be, and people saying that he should be canceled. I will say, sorry, before I get to that, I won't watch Whoopi. And there are other people who I've said, you know what, like Tom Hanks, he makes me so nauseous because of his constant messaging for the Democrats that I will never watch Tom Hanks movie again, or certainly nothing new that he's producing. So, so that's me canceling with my wallet instead of going out there to cancel him. And I was trying to analyze on my show what the difference was between canceling with your wallet and or telling or suggesting to others to boycott and cancel with their wallet versus calling for the person to be fired. And the conclusion that we reached on my show, which I think makes the most sense, is, or at least that I came to, was that there's a marketplace of ideas. The whole point to freedom of speech is we have a marketplace of ideas. So you have people coming in with their hateful stuff, and people come or bad ideas, and other people coming with good ideas. And hopefully, if these are all fleshed out in the general public, people will reach their own conclusions and recognize that the stupid ideas are stupid or bad or evil, or whatever, and those will be rejected. That's the point of freedom of speech. So if I myself decide that I am going to say, okay, I'm not supporting this person, well, that's really just my vote. It's almost like I'm using my voice, and that's my argument. So that's part of my argument, saying I'm not going to support them, as opposed to, and if the majority agrees with me, enough people agree with me that it constitutes a majority, well, that person ultimately is going to be silenced. So that is actually freedom of speech. In contrast, if I'm part of a minority, it's very vocal, and the minority is saying cancel this person, and the ABC or whomever or Spotify would say, oh my gosh, we can't deal with this hassle, we're going to cancel them. That now is the minority speaking on behalf of the majority. That is the opposite of free speech. That is that's where you're actually you're caving to wrong think based on the fact that they're a squeaky wheel and they're going to get the grease. So that's basically where I came to the distinction between cancel culture and saying I'm going to reject this person and call for and even call for people to boycott them. That's okay. But then I came to this middle ground, which is where we're talking about Neil Young. And I was like, so where does this fit in? Because Neil Young, look, he's a D performer. I don't even know who the hell Neil Young is. But if someone like Taylor Swift would come along and give that ultimatum to Spotify, so now where would that fit in this spectrum? Someone who's got real significance and is going to hurt Spotify to lose Taylor Swift. So now where does that fit in this entire spectrum with respect to her using her individual voice to almost speak, and the power that she knows she has because of her popularity to sort of speak for large numbers or influence large numbers of people, and now she becomes a very powerful squeaky wheel. And at the same time, let's pretend Joe Rogan wasn't talking about what something we support. Let's pretend for a second that's not Joe Rogan, but someone Joe Rogan size who all of a sudden starts saying really hateful, racist crap. And someone like Taylor Swift would come along and say, hey, I don't want to be on Spotify because this racist is up here on Spotify. And they're genuinely a racist. I'm not talking about someone who the left is loving to just smear everyone with that and tar them with that. But someone's a really terrible person. Now, in the general scheme of things, we would have the free marketplace of ideas, and the majority would probably reject that person. But now we have this Taylor Swift situation where one person has more power than everyone else, and they say, well, I'm not associating, and I'm going to pull my stuff away from anything having to do with them. I think we would say, I understand that this guy's a racist. You don't want to be on a platform that's with a racist. So in that sense, I can almost understand the Neil Young / Taylor Swift position, where even though I disagree with where they're coming from, I think they're idiotic, stupid, because Joe Rogan is nothing evil or anything of the kind. At the same time, does that mean that that's a wrong type of cancel culture the same way the squeaky wheel is, or is it the right type of cancel culture where you're using your money and saying I don't want to support this with my finances? And that's something I've just been playing around in my head, and I'd love to get your feedback on everything I just
I think that there is a legal there is a legal way of looking at this. And this is something that Rick actually brought up the other day. Is that he mentioned that there was a possibility that the reason why Neil Young almost immediately took down that letter that he had on his website was probably because someone came up to him, maybe some legal counsel that he has, probably said, "Hey, this can look a lot like tortious interference with a third-party contract, meaning the contract between Spotify and Joe Rogan. This can look like you are trying to interfere and interrupt their contract by getting in, mucking things up, and trying to disturb the public." So there is making public statements about your disagreement, in the fact that you don't like the fact that somebody is doing something, and there's also saying, "Hey, I don't want to be associated with this because I am also a business. My music is a business, and I don't like my brand to be associated with that." There is that. But to go so far as to say you have to pick either me or him, that probably goes far enough to potentially at least run the risk of a lawsuit for tortious interference.
So let me ask about the tortious interference angle, because I think maybe this is an area of law where I'm a little bit weaker on tortious interference, because my understanding of tortious interference is you're trying to prevent someone's contract, either existing or potential, but it requires essentially an improper motivation or some sort of underlying tort. So an example might include defamation, right? I'm defaming, I'm a competitive business. I'm defaming your business to make your business look bad, so more business will come to me. The underlying tort is defamation, so it's tortious interference. Or even if I'm doing things that are lawful, I'm doing it with this improper motivation to benefit myself in some way. That's partly my understanding, so you can correct me on that. Yeah. And then from there, the conclusion, which is on a shaky foundation perhaps, is like what Neil Young was doing doesn't seem like it would fall into that category. Merely saying, I don't want my content to be there. If their content is there, is that tortious interference?
Yeah, so I think
if he were to have just said that, I would agree. If he were to just say, I don't like my stuff being next to his, I don't like them touching, like if you were to just say that, that probably would not be tortious interference. But it's the going so far as to say, hey, Spotify, you have to choose between him or me. I want you. I don't care that you have a contract with Joe Rogan. I want you to take him off anyway because I'm Neil Young.
To clarify, I don't believe that tortious interference requires a predicate tort. I believe the interference itself is the tort, meaning you're trying to. I have an existing contract. with Alita to appear on her show every Thursday, and now you come along and interfere with that. And now she loses money because obviously, she's not going to have the same number of viewers if she doesn't have me here. So now you are interfering.
Yes, she wouldn't. She'd be well advised to get rid of you for that reason.
So you now thereby, if you, let's say, come along to me and you start telling me all these reasons I should break my contract, so your interference with this agreement, assuming I follow your guidance, is now a tort that has damaged her. Now, a valid defense to tortious interference, much like truth is a valid defense to defamation, a valid defense to tortious interference with an existing contract, or certainly I know with a potential contract, not existing contract. There's a difference between tortious interference with a potential contract versus an existing contract.
Right.
We're going to protect an existing contract more strictly than we will a potential contract. So when you're talking about a potential contract, in that case, if you just have an economic reason for it, that you're going to benefit economically by interfering, getting in the way, we look at that as free market competition. That's totally okay. In contrast, if there's an existing contract, the fact that you have economic gain from it, I do not believe that would be a valid defense to tortious interference with an existing contract. So that's my recollection going back 25 years or so. But I'm pretty confident that at least 98% of what I just said was accurate.
So let me try to rephrase some of what you said to see if I understand it, and you can let me know if I understood it properly. So we could have a non-tortious interference which would be lawful competition, for example. So you're a competitor with me, and I just simply offer a better service at a better price or better quality or whatever. So that's a non-tortious interference, because I'm obviously trying to take your customer away and make them my customer. But so there's a non-tortious interference where it's just proper market competition. Tortious interference comes where this is where I break down a little bit. Where is exactly tortious interference?
I don't think that's so. So here's a great example. Let's assume I have a contract with Alita to work for her, and you know about the contract. Now you have the intent of a tort to try and when you convince me to break that contract and go to her and go to you, that now your knowledge now would create an intentional tort. Let's assume though that I have a contract with her and you had no idea I had a contract with her and you woo me away. So in that case, I do not believe there's a tort because you do not have proper intent.
Right. Yeah.
I need to read up on this subject.
You would lack the requisite intent to be liable for a tort.
Right. And so in order to show that intent, I mean, you have to show that someone is not just competing with the business, right? They're actually trying to do something dirty, right?
So in this example I gave, Alita would sue me for breaching contract, and she would sue you, Kurt, for tortious interference with the contract. And the tortious interference, she would only win on the tortious interference if she can prove that you had knowledge of the contract.
Yeah. Yes. At the very least, yeah.
All right, I need to get the restatement on torts and reread this section, I think. But thank you for trying to educate me a little bit.
Yeah, no problem.
But it goes to show that we can't all be experts in all the things all the time. So yeah, go reread it, then I'll be an expert.
For sure. So let me get a few super chats on this, and then we'll continue discussing. Scott Bain says, "Unbreaded law, love this crew. Hope everyone is doing well."
Do you understand the reference, by the way? Unbreaded?
I do. I didn't see Nick Rekida's stream on this, but I know Kurt was telling me about it.
Unbreaded.
We've got a lot of unbreaded super chats here.
You should watch that. If for those of you who have not seen that stream with Nick Requeda, I think it's the night before last, where he reads this PDF. And as I was spam texting Alita that night, Nick has gone off the deep end. It's truly a thing to behold. Oh my God. And so forth and so on. And then Alita stopped responding to me and thought maybe I went too far. So I stopped.
No, it was because I was communicating with my editor about the Clips channel, which, by the way, is it's doing really well, because no credit to me, completely to my editor, who has been doing a ton of work on it and has been uploading a lot of really great stuff. So mini plug here, if you guys haven't already, go and check it out. He's been doing some really great work. And there's some great content on there that's getting uploaded very, very regularly. So big shout out to him. Very, very happy that we crossed paths and started working together on this stuff. So, but yeah, so Kurt, you did not push me away from conversation on this topic. I just got, pulled away to a different conversation at the time.
And for those of you in the chat who are still confused, there's a UCLA professor who has been put on indefinite suspension. He hasn't been fired.
Yeah, and has been arrested and is facing federal charges at this point, I believe.
After he uploaded to YouTube at one shot 250 videos, which are all like 1 minute long, of him ranting and raving like a lunatic, and then they found a manifesto, which is I think 800 paragraphs long.
It does. It also has the N-word 10,386 times, as we learned.
Right.
So now it has some thoughts.
And encouraging violence to, that basically saying black people need to rise up and kill everybody. And so in some of these videos, when he's ranting like a lunatic, so for example, like he starts just chanting, touchdown, paper, unbreaded, touchdown, paper, unbreaded, and like you're like, what the hell? So yeah. Unbreaded,
and also it's a nice little pun, because for those of you who've been on the internet for a while, there's such a thing as bread tube. So now I get to also talk against them at the same time. So it's a twofer.
All right. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually 800 pages, and Nick Rekieta has decided to make a new segment.
Yes.
where he's going
our
to
daily unbreaded. Our daily unbreaded. He reads a page every day now. That's what
every
he's
day
doing.
he's going to read one page for the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's great. No, I love. He just breaks out the random number generator. Apparently, give me a random page between 1 and 850, and just reads that page that day. That's good news.
Oh my gosh,
that's why he's the
crazy.
king of grift, because he's a genius. He's a genius.
Amazing. Well, Mad8 says Denmark just looked up pandemic in the sacred text on page 782. If it says if it's unbreaded, then the pandemic is over. We can all agree. It's definitely unbreaded. Nice. Let's see. And then we've got a few more here. Mad8 says, in all seriousness, look it up. Denmark politicized this whole thing the least, and they ended all COVID restrictions yesterday. Is Denmark not following the science? Oh, well, we're not doctors here, but we can talk about the policies. But that's I know that Denmark just ended all the COVID restrictions. The UK did, and I think there was at least one more. Maybe someone in the chat can mention it. Abe Eckstein says, should we cancel the professor who advocates for relationships that deserve a wood chipper? How can you have a principled stand that you're anti-cancel culture, but would advocate for him being fired?
Great question. The difference is that I can advocate for cancel culture of someone who is harmful to others. Like someone is harmful to others. That's a line that we say the same way. You know, if I can say,
but that's
the same way you would throw someone in jail.
No,
what I'm saying is the same way I would throw someone in jail if they're inciting someone to go commit arson. You know, so and they're just expressing, you know, they're using freedom of thought. If you're engaging in a crime, well, that's not cancel culture by throwing that person in jail.
So give me a little bit of context for this one, because is this the same professor, the unbreaded professor?
No, completely
okay,
different. So the unbreaded professor is actually a black guy. This guy's a white guy who basically promotes child engagement. So
okay.
And says that this is totally a great thing and normal and everyone should just, you know, live with it. So that's really, there's a whole different thing. And I would say he should be canceled. This person is a threat to society. He's going to be an influence on people to do something that's dangerous and bad. So, and I guess arguably, even though I completely disagree with them, that's what the left feels about Joe Rogan. So I think they're crazy. And I think they've lost their minds, but I think that's the counter argument that you would get back from them. To be fair, you can't ignore the positions that your opponents are taking. Now I think they're lacking in the logic because he's not advocating anything; he's simply having dialogue, and that's not advocating any position. But
yeah, although there is some editorial aspect behind the choosing of who comes on to the podcast, of course, which he did say in his response to Spotify's CEO's statement about the new sort of COVID policies that were going to be going into place by, you know, slapping a warning label onto various podcast episodes and whatnot that talk about it. But so, you know, he did say that, you know, he's like, if I'm looking at my, you know, what I can learn or what I can do better, you know, I guess I could have someone that has an opposing viewpoint right after the more contrarian person that I have on the episode, which, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, if your goal is to get to the truth, right? Getting two opposing viewpoints, one right after another, is not a bad way to do it. So, yeah. Andy the Game Maker. Hey, Andy. He says, no touching from Arrested Development, aka Joe's favorite show. Joe, have you seen Arrested Development?
I am a huge fan.
Are you really? Fan. Me too. I'll bet Andy.
Gosh.
I'll bet you and Andy talked about it a lot because my family, we quote it all the time.
I don't know it well enough to quote it. I'm just saying, I mean, there's so many just brilliant things to that show that I hate Ron Howard, but I can't give up that show. I can't give up that show. That show is brilliant. Yeah, I mean, really what's the prison wisdom? Is that the thing that he came up with? When when the father Pop, and he was in jail, and he came up with that video series. What was it? Prison prison
Oh.
wisdom or prison whatever.
Oh my God.
And his girlfriend try to break him out, and she comes up with this like really stupid, like she says something really stupid to him, and she's like, I got it from you. It was in your video, and he's like, what? I never said that. He's like, that wasn't an outtake. It was a mistake. Oh my God! Don't you understand what an outtake is?
Oh, that's right. Oh, because she said faith is a fact or something,
Yeah,
right?
faith is
She was
a
like,
fact.
because faith is a fact, and he was like, wait, just because you didn't understand a blooper reel. So I love it.
In the blooper reel, he's like, oh my God, I just said faith is a fact. What a ridiculous thing to say. And she's like, but you said faith is a fact. Oh my God. Genius.
So funny. Joseph says, good logic. I think what bothers you is something like who decides. Spotify doesn't stand for everyone on their platform's ideals and points of view by simply hosting. It should be just business. No?
Okay. Yeah. So, but if Taylor Swift has more influence in the business, so now she's forcing Spotify's hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, Joe Rogan, let's face it, Joe Rogan versus Neil Young. Everyone's like, who the hell is Neil Young? Joe Rogan wins. Taylor Swift versus me, she's going to crush me.
Yeah.
So, and so that's why it's like, it's going to become if you're going to say it's based on the economics, that doesn't seem to be a fair yardstick either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Dragon's Treasure says, forget bread. Get the Dragon's Treasure tea. Coupon code Legalbytes to get 10% off. Help fund Legalbytes and a business that won't cancel her. Yeah, for sure. So for anyone that is not aware, February has turned into the month of competitions for me. I'm in a fitness challenge right now where I'm having to record all my steps and all kinds of different stuff. And I'm going to win it. You guys, I'm going to win it. But
Who's
the other one,
with? Who's the challenge against? Who's the challenge against?
It's a bunch of local Americans, just all kind of in a team fitness challenge. So there's a lot of different ways to score points, and there's daily challenges, and I'm team captain for my team. So nice. I made a whole Google Docs spreadsheet that people can put their points in, and it calculates everything. And I'm super into it. Anyway,
you would be so great as a captain of this. I have no doubt you're going to win this because I see you as being this really highly organized, just motivator. Go get him kind of. I can picture you being a great captain of exactly this sort of thing.
Thank you. I'm texting my team every day, okay, here's today's challenge. So if you guys are into it, here you go. And just let me know if you need anything. So, but the one that's a little bit more salient to the super chat is I am in a competition with Eric Hunley, who has all of us on his channel pretty much every other Friday to talk about law. He's not a lawyer, but he loves having us on, of course, because we're awesome. But anyway, he and I are competing to see who is going to sell more tea. I really want to win, but so if you guys want to support me in that challenge and support me, in the channel altogether, go to their website, thedragonstreasure.com, and at your checkout, put in Legalbytes, just like it says here in the super chat. And you'll get 10% off, and I get a nice kickback that does help the channel. And then whoever ends up selling more tea ends up with a little bit of a prize as well. So anyhow,
win-win
with that. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. T Man.
And it's good tea.
Yeah, it is really good tea. Yes. So
I do have their tea. There is good tea. I can say that as well. I do enjoy their tea. It's good.
Yeah. So it's really good. This is if it'll zoom in here. There we go. Dragon's Treasure. And this one is, and then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. So it's from, of course, the Avatar: The Last Airbender. There we go. So it's really good tea. It's delicious. So for sure, go and get it, guys. Anyhow, Chuck Strum, thank you so much for sending the super sticker. Excuse me. And I think we've got a couple more here. Andy the Game Maker says, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed and tolerance with them. Karl Popper. That is a very good quote to add to this discussion. Lido Enchanted said, in lighter news, Whoopi Goldberg's character in Star Trek thinks Ferengi is not a race.
That's pretty
In
good.
Fantasy I Die says Canada banning swastikas. I know they're the World War II kind, but with the way things are, they'll probably end up banning the original Hindu swastika. That's a fair point too, because that existed for a long time before that, right?
Well, and you look at like, the German experience where they're saying, "Oh, we're going to ban swastikas in media," and next thing you know, it becomes illegal to play or to make a game where you're running around shooting Nazis.
Yep.
And I'm like, isn't that kind of communicating the wrong thing that you can't, it's these rules tend to go in directions that people don't think. And the other one I'll caution is that a lot of the people who are advancing this need to think of what's the next step, because if you open the door to banning a hateful symbol that and I mean, I can't think of, good justifications for somebody wanting one. It's just, obnoxious, but that's the way speech is. You let people say things that are, I mean, at the end of the day, you let people identify and tell you who they are.
They're a
But-
tiger showing their stripes. That's basically
Exactly.
it. Why would you want to take the stripes away from a tiger when you can actually see the stripes and say, "Whoa, stay back"? Now I see a swastika. It's like, "Whoa, stay back."
It's such a perfect target shape too. So, but what is it? Once you open that door, you end up with the principle that it's okay to ban these kinds of symbols. And then you end up with, maybe the next government says, well, you know what? We want to ban the hammer and sickle.
Please. They'll never say that though. It's very interesting seeing how the culture treats the swastika and treats the hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
It's two very different things, and it's not 100% clear why that is, but it's a thing.
It is.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a vignette on that actually, which was my mom, when she was visiting one of my other brothers in college one time, she happened to be on campus for whatever reason. They were going to some kind of, I guess, back to school events or something like that. And she sees a professor who's wearing a t-shirt that has a hammer and sickle on it. And so she goes up to him and she says, excuse me, why are you wearing that symbol? Do you not understand how many people died because of that symbol? And he was like, oh, well, symbols are just, they're so complicated. And she was like, I'm sorry, would you wear the same thing? Like, would you say the same thing about somebody wearing a swastika? Would you? Because, you could say that symbols are complicated. Tell that to my family that is dead because of that symbol. And so he was just like, oh, I don't know, like getting confronted, by some random woman, right? And so then I guess like it was kind of a small campus, so she actually saw him like the next day, and he was like wearing a very plain brown shirt. And he was just like, hello, ma'am, how are you? Like after this whole confrontation, she felt very satisfied that she got to voice her very strong opinions on this particular subject. So, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Like it's when you start banning symbols, it's one thing to have a one-on-one conversation with a person and saying like, are you sure you want to wear that? But it's quite another to say that it is, that you have the force of law, you have the force of the government behind you, banning you from brandishing a particular symbol, right? Because whether it's one or the other, you're bound to find someone who is going to be offended by some kind of symbol, right?
Mhm.
Because if you take it to its complete extreme, you could say somebody is offended by the Joe Rogan podcast symbol, like with his head in the circle around it, and like somebody's offended by that, and therefore that should be outlawed.
Yeah.
Well, it's even more concerning when we're talking about the government doing it. Like, I've got no problem if you say, hey, listen, if this business is selling swastika gear, I'm not shopping there. And even I'm going to encourage my friends not to shop there. You've got all sorts of options in that regard, but the government has a degree of power that the marketplace doesn't. And it becomes very, very concerning. And, as much as people say, oh, you won't get a government that'll ban some other symbol, governments change. People, the government that is in power, you'll never have a government that you like forever.
That's true.
You're going to get a government that you dislike at some point. And
If
once
not-
you open those doors, you've given them, it's like giving a monkey a shotgun. You know, you might be happy with what it does for 5 minutes, but give it time, and it's gonna be pointing the other direction.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah. The only way that anyone will ever have a system of government that they do like all the time, maybe all the time, is if you're a dictator and you are the government, right? Like that's probably the only time, because you get to say exactly what goes on, you know. But otherwise, yeah, you're bound to disagree with different policy decisions that are going on. So Abe Eckstein says, my point is that we do have a society that does have norms, and some things should never be advocated for. The right and the left have different things that we consider acceptable. Yeah, that's fair. James Davis, thank you so much for your super chat. And Forever Cuber says, I can imagine Ian killing a dragon, looting it, and picking up that dragon's treasure as his loot. Haha. I can picture that too. I think that would be a great one.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
Absolutely. So I think did Kurt say goodbye before he popped out, or did he? I think
he flipped you the bird and then just left. So
okay. Yeah.
It could have been me though. So I don't
know. No, I think he may have had to be somewhere. So anyhow, we'll get one more super chat and then we'll talk about Avenatti. So Mad8 says, the Muslim guy that owns the gas station in my small East Texas town sells Confederate flag hats. Who's big dealing a flag anyway? I mean, if there's money to be made, there'll be people that will sell it, right? Regardless of your nationality or religion or what have you. There are people that will be happy to make some money off of it.
Hey, can I ask you something? Someone mentioned Whoopi Goldberg and her character from Star Trek and the Ferengi. Did you guys ever consider that the Ferengi might have been supposed to be like a futuristic, like representation of Jews? Because I've heard people say this, and the fact that they're smaller, and instead of having a big nose, they have big ears. But basically, that's the whole culture being based. I read somewhere that this is supposed to be that they're basically an anti-Semitic representation of Jews. They're short. They're the oversized ears, the obsession with money, the fact that they're considered, everything negative stereotype about Jews. That they're crafty, every negative stereotype associated with Jews is supposed to be displayed in Ferengi, and so someone actually pointed that out to me a while back, and I was wondering, and that's why I thought part of the joke in the super chat comment there about
that may be
character, not thinking that they're like another race. So that's my question for you: is do you guys think that that's possibly what was at least partially part of the intent behind the creation of the character, or do you think that that's hypersensitivity?
Well, first off, welcome back, Kurt. Glad to see you back.
No problem.
And we forgive you for that whole bird flipping thing.
I don't know, because Star Trek was never my nerddom. So I'm much less familiar with that, but I don't know if maybe Ian or Kurt, maybe you guys are a little bit more familiar.
Ian's gonna know.
Well, they called them Yankee traders in TNG. That's what Data called them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this might be a little bit of a reach, and it might in fact be sort of a back stereotyping, in the sense of people with their own prejudices basically looking for anything negative and then stamping it on that cultural thing. And I know that the actor who played Quark, who I believe is actually Jewish himself, noted that basically when he goes to different countries, different people ask if the Ferengi are supposed to represent different groups, and it's always some group they dislike. But it's basically whatever country you go to, whoever they have prejudice to, they're able to stamp that onto the Ferengi. So it's basically just So I don't know if it was intentionally a Jewish shot when they were starting it out, but I think that if it was, they probably filed the serial numbers off enough that it's.
Right.
But it seems like a bit of a stretch to me at the end of the day.
IWD in the chat says the Ferengi are supposed to be a representation of people like John D. Rockefeller, basically the Gilded Age version of venture capitalist. And Time Out also has a super chat here, says they were meant to be representative of the worst of capitalism, but I don't know if there was purposefully Jewish reference.
Yeah,
So
I think it was just. I think first of all, when they were first invented, they were supposed to be the big bad, which that didn't work at all. So that was rapidly changed. But their function in the story is as a juxtaposition to the Federation, which has abolished classic economics. It's amazing the Ferengi still have classic economics because they have access to the same technology as a Federation, which you'd think would make everything basically valueless, but apparently not. The Federation invented the replicator, or that they at least have the replicator. I don't know if they invented it, which necessarily makes every physical good worth zero. So you don't have scarcity, so you don't need money.
This one always annoys me.
Wait a second. So you're saying, wait a second. You're saying that basically the replicator can do alchemy? I thought it's making a replica rather than actual gold, for example. It can't make a
no, it can make actual gold. It can't make the stuff that goes in the gold, the gold, latinum. It can't make latinum, which is this liquid metallic that looks a lot like mercury, which it can't replicate for some reason. But other than that, it can replicate anything. Yeah, that's apparently what it does.
But I mean, this is always, when they talk about Star Trek economics, I'm like, you still have scarcity. Let's say you want to buy land and you want waterfront land. Can the replicator replicate waterfront?
No.
Can it replicate, a spot next to the popular restaurant where you want to set up your own business? If you look at the Enterprise, some people are going to have cabins with windows, and some people are going to have cabins with, that are facing internally, and you can't see anything. The whole, you're always going to have some degree of scarcity and some way of parsing that out. And I don't know. I've seen far too many people go like, we need to get to post scarcity, and I'm going, still haven't done it in Star Trek. But
apparently in the next generation, the secret to those kinds of limited resources isn't money; it's just war, which seems like a much worse solution. People they don't buy and sell land; it's basically just conquer, which is the story of a lot of DS9, for example, in particular. But you're right. I mean, there are still limited resources, so it doesn't solve all the scarcity. It solves a lot of the scarcity, though. So, unlimited free food and unlimited free clothing is not a bad place to start. So,
no, it's true.
Let me get a few super chats because I don't want to miss some, and there are some that are relevant to this discussion. So let me work through some of these. Marcel Defour says, once we give government even more power over us, we'll never get it back. Banning of symbols only drives them underground. Large portion of Europe made Holocaust denial a crime. When has thought become a crime? Yes, agree for sure. Wrestler Town, Ferengi can't be Jews. They eat bugs. Timeout. I read that super chat already. James Davis says, I would argue cancel culture is about the demanding and threatening of cancellation from others versus just asking. Interesting. Let's see. Barry Dvorak says, I'm with Alita. Arrested Development for the win. Star Trek, meh. Also OC native and UCSD grad, so maybe we're just products of our environment. Yeah, that's also a possibility for sure. Anti-Commie says, rule of acquisition 112, never have sex with the boss's sister. Ferengi represent relentless greed and obsession over money.
The Ferengi rules of acquisition are great.
Yeah.
Ferengi rule of acquisition number 1, once you have their money, you never give it back. It's like, yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Nice. JB says, Nimoy is reported to have described the creator of the Ferengi, Gene Roddenberry, was an anti-Semite. That doesn't necessarily mean that this particular portrayal is anti-Semitic.
Right. That's true.
So, IWD says the Ferengi were actually in space for several thousand years longer than the Federation. I think most of their wealth came from arms and fuel trafficking.
Yeah.
So like you said, conquering. Z. Michael Gelka says replicators are like CNCs. The amount of time, volume of starting materials, and sophistication of required machine induce a value. Ship is greater than sandwich.
Yeah, also the logic of the replicator breaks down because they still had Utopia Planitia, which is the shipyards on Mars for the Federation, is where their principal shipyards were built. They still had to, build them. So the replicator apparently has limits in terms of how big it can make stuff, because they had to actually, manufacture the ship. So more Star Trek lore. How deep into the Star Trek do we want to go?
Well, let's get one more Star Trek super chat. Anti-Commie says Joe can't get a replicator because it requires understanding Einstein E equals MC squared. Energy becomes currency, and not all planets, etc., are at the same technology.
Oh my gosh.
So with that, talking about not all planets being on the same level. Let's talk about Avenatti, because he's on a different planet.
Avenatti, man. For 10 minutes or 5 minutes, would be presidential candidate that would take on Trump.
Was there a verdict? Yeah.
Not yet. They just seated the jury today.
Okay.
He was already convicted and sentenced to 4 years in that state level case?
I think so. I don't know exactly how many years, but he's
for Nike. That was Nike, right?
I think
so that conviction happened. Yeah. Which one is this now?
This one is
Stormy Daniels.
This is Stormy Daniels. So we have some live tweets from Inner City Press going over the cross-examination of Stormy Daniels by Avenatti himself, because for anyone that hasn't been following this trial, so he's been charged by the United States government for fraud, for defrauding Stormy Daniels, for having to do with a book deal that she was trying to get or had funds for and whatnot, and so he's been accused of defrauding her for funds related to that. And so last Friday, they had she was a witness in this, even though she's not a plaintiff, because this is the government that is bringing this case. So she, like PhotoChad in the Ziminski and Rittenhouse trial, is required to be there by a subpoena and give her testimony. And so, because of the fact that Avenatti has no money now, he previously had a publicly funded representation, basically a federal version of a public defender, because he doesn't have money for his own criminal defense. So on the first or second day after opening statements began, he went in and said, "Your Honor, I actually would like to represent myself," which for anyone is not a good idea.
It's questionable at best.
Questionable at best. There's the fact that he is a litigator. He's been disbarred in every jurisdiction, but he still has the practice behind him.
I think he's technically only been suspended in California. I don't know if he's been fully disbarred yet.
That's fair. That's a very good point. I did look up his bar license in California, and he has multiple suspensions, but also, and not just really. So even if you are involved in this kind of a lawsuit, like you've been charged with fraud or defrauding any of your clients, that is automatically a professional responsibility issue, and that every state bar that you are a member of is going to investigate that. So he was investigated and suspended because of that by the California bar, but also for failing to pay his fees. He just decided to stop paying fees, probably because he just is indigent at this point. But they decided to they slapped a bunch of suspensions on there, and it was pretty interesting to look through, actually. But so he decided, he's like, "Hey, I'm a litigator. No one knows this case like I do, because this is my life. So I think that I can do a better job of this than my publicly appointed attorneys," which, granted, he was not able to choose them himself. So, if he wants to have some kind of a choice in the matter, why not bet on yourself, right?
Didn't he win one where he was self-representing? So he's 1-1, I think, on that.
He did represent himself in California, he had said, but I don't know what the outcome was in that trial. So, so just so that everyone understands, so there are multiple reasons why you would want to hire counsel, even if you are a lawyer. Number one, if you're not a litigator, there's a lot of things that can trip you up that are just like almost like purely administrative things, just turning things into the court in ways that the court wants them turned in. That seems super mechanical and stupid sometimes, but it's just, you have to play ball with the court, with the judge, and with the clerk. You know, there's many people that can make your life hell just by stapling papers in the wrong way, right? Or not stapling, or stapling when you're not supposed to staple. Like there's a lot of little things that can go wrong.
Sometimes the rules are a little bit anal on things like that. Yeah.
If you've ever seen them break out a ruler to measure your margins when you're trying to file something, that's
stressful. So yeah, and then you've got page limits and word counts and stuff like that sometimes come into play. So there are all kinds of reasons, you know, why you would want someone representing you. But even if you are a litigator, there's a really big emotional aspect of this that you know, when you're swimming in the middle of a problem, it can be very difficult to take yourself out of it and look objectively at what's going on. And so having somebody that is able to do exactly that, to say, I'm going to give you the words that you don't want to hear, but you need to hear them. It's very important to have someone when you have high stakes, whether it's a civil case and we're just talking about money, or a criminal case and we're talking about years of your life potentially being spent behind bars. It's okay.
The other one that people miss is just that there's certain questions that you might want to ask on cross-examination that are poison if you're uttering them from your own mouth. You know, if you're saying, oh, well, you know, let's say it's a robbery and the guy says that you walked into the store and pulled a gun. And you say, and you want to say there's no gun, there was just a misunderstanding, you know, you pulled out your cell phone and everybody freaked out because somebody missed. So then when you say, oh, and then when I pulled out the gun, you know, did you get a good look at this gun? It's very different if you're saying, when I pulled out the gun, because the jury's going to hear I pulled out a gun, versus your lawyer saying, oh, well, then when he pulls out this gun, you know, the jury's much better able to contemplate it as a hypothetical when it's coming from the voice of the lawyer rather than your own voice as an apparent admission. So even if you think your lawyer is awful, you probably want that lawyer there just to create that degree of separation.
Buffer.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so in this particular case, what the judge decided to do was to basically set aside his Avenatti's legal counsel that was appointed for him to be as backup in case he needed them. So
that's typical.
That's typical. And that's a very responsible thing. If you think about it from the court's perspective, anyone that is going to be representing themselves, a judge is always going to be worried that somehow they come out arguing that they were somehow disadvantaged by the very thing that they asked for. You know, and that their constitutional rights were violated. That could be a judge's worst nightmare. So I think that, that was a very, I think, wise decision by the judge. And I don't know how much they actually ended up participating after that point. But there was a lot of Avenatti participating, that's for sure. So they just had closing arguments yesterday, and now today they have seated the jury and they are apparently deliberating. I don't know if maybe I was looking at some of the updated live tweets right before we went live here. So I don't know if maybe in the last hour and a half anything has developed and they've made up their minds. But I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what they decide. But from what I was reading about some of Avenatti's direct and cross examinations, his lawyering skills left a lot to be desired.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So if you want, we could do a dramatic reading.
Ooh, I'm in.
Can I take a roll?
Yeah. Would you like to be okay? So we have Judge Furman, we have Avenatti, and we have Stormy Daniels. And do we have? Oh, and we have AUSA. So we can have all four of us can take a part.
Well, there you go. All right. So
I'll
Okay.
take what's left. That's fine.
Okay. All right.
All right, Curtis Stormy Daniels. Gotcha.
yeah,
Fine by
totally.
me.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Joe, who would you like to be?
I'll be Avenatti. Everyone thinks I'm the bad guy anyway. So.
All right. Ian, would you like to be Judge Furman or would you like to be the AUSA?
You know what? I'll go for the judge here. That sounds like fun.
All right,
Okay.
here we go.
All right. Then I will be the state. So let me share this.
By the way, the bad lawyering you're about to see from me is not my own words.
Oh, let's see. Is this it or is it the other one? Yeah, I think it's this one. Okay. So we have tweets here from Inner City Press. This is on January 28th. So this was on Friday. And so remember, so I don't think that he can actually bring his phone in the courtroom, I think. I don't know if maybe this might be different from the Maxwell trial, but so it looks like these tweets are kind of summaries of or what's the word for it? When you put someone else's words in your own voice. Paraphrase. Thank you. So I think that he probably paraphrased a lot of these exchanges. So keep that in mind as we're reading this. This is not a transcript, but this is a pretty decent, I think, representation probably of what actually transpired in this courtroom. So we can start with this tweet right up here. Can you guys read that, or should I can zoom in?
Read it.
This is the one at the top
Zoom
there.
in a little bit.
Yeah. Here we go.
That's much better. All
Yeah,
right,
there we go. Okay. All right.
There we go.
I'm monitoring the weather, but I don't think the storm will arrive so early as to impact our trial day.
Okay. All right.
How long have you been an actress?
Since 2002.
So you're an expert in reading scripts. You said in prison there'll be a long line of people to A-rape me, didn't you? But I didn't get none. Oh, sorry.
I don't remember.
You said it's handy you have your own line of lube. How? Because you can just bring me a gift basket in prison.
I did on Twitter.
What does drop the soap mean?
It's a gay term.
Have you ever falsely accused anyone of a crime?
Not to my knowledge.
So in New Orleans, you claim you experienced poltergeist phenomenon and unexplainable voices that prowled your home, right?
Yes.
They invaded your life and relationship.
That's on the Spooky Babes website.
Your partner at the time was who?
Denver Nix.
He was never the director of your documentary, right?
I don't have a documentary.
Uh-huh. So if someone said he was the director of your documentary, that would be untrue, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Of course, we don't know what the objection is, but that's fine.
Let me ask about the dark entity in your house.
I was told that by a medium.
That's a win for me there. Let's talk about this alleged television show. Has it ever aired on TV?
No, it's in the editing with.
Move to strike. Everything after no.
Denied.
He's not really winning here.
You said Denver Nix has not been the same since.
I don't know. I haven't seen him in 2 years.
You said he called you nuts and you moved out.
Objection.
Oh,
I'll allow it. Not for the truth, but if it was said.
But what about for the truth of it? Oh, sorry. From time to time,
Say that's why.
I know. From time to time, you pull up in front of the house in an Uber and you talk to the house.
It's a TV show.
So you're making it up.
No.
And you said a scan showed a blockage in your head.
It was a Reiki.
Can you spell that?
Reiki.
What the hell is a Reiki? What's a Reiki? Do you guys know what that is? I never even
She explains it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said, I'm pretty sure saying I talk to dead people is ruining my court cases because there's your insanity dismissal. Like, you know?
Yes, I said that.
How do you speak with the dead?
It just happens sometimes.
Are you able to have conversations with them?
Sometimes I record them, like remote viewing, into people's homes.
How does it work?
I don't know. That's the premise of the show.
Let me ask you about the doll Susan, who calls you mommy, mommy.
We don't know it was her. We assume.
It's much better if you just assume that. You're not positive. It could be her. You read tarot cards?
Yes.
You charge people money?
Technically, they're oracle cards.
Who are the dragons?
Brandon Haraway and Travis Miller.
Why do you call them the dragons?
We use code names for checking into hotels. They call me Danny. Dragons is from Game of Thrones.
You've done on podcasts about your book payments?
I don't know.
You know who Michael Cohen is, right? And that he's here today?
Yes.
Objection.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Yeah, that's two questions at once. Didn't you say on Michael Cohen's podcast, I did get my first 2 payments?
I did say that.
You said my last big check, he intercepted it by forging my signature, and I have yet to see a royalty statement. Is that true?
Objection.
I don't remember.
Yesterday, you said you have a perfect memory, right?
A photographic memory.
So did you get the last 2 payments?
Maybe.
You said the federal government planted 16 false charges on your criminal record.
I never accused the FBI. They helped me resolve it.
You've been detained at the Canadian border?
Objection.
Sustained.
So in February 2018, you picked me as an attorney.
I hired you.
You said you had no choice?
Yes, I said that. I was out of options.
I never sought you out.
Not to my knowledge.
Did you and me and a guy called Sean Macias speak on a phone call?
Not that I recall.
Did you, understanding that to a reasonable percentage, I would be entitled?
Yes, you are very entitled.
Nice.
When you work, do you expect to get paid?
Of course.
Why do you say of course?
That's how we survive.
You know lawyers do not generally work for free?
I'd be shocked if you did.
Did my office prepare a legal complaint for you for use in Columbus, Ohio?
Brewster refiled it differently.
You gave them 40% of your winnings?
Objection.
Sustained.
What's the objection there?
Interfering, or they're asking about relationship with counsel. Privilege is
Yeah.
my guess.
It's privilege with
My office
respect to the
prepared a legal
compensation?
complaint.
The
Oh,
compensation
absolutely.
is really?
Yep.
That sounds kind
I
of.
think the fact that there is compensation, but the amount of the compensation is protected, I believe.
Where I am, at least, even that whether or not it is a pro bono versus compensated would be.
Yeah.
protected.
Okay, Judge Furman. You just you previously had a plea agreement with an attorney named Keith Davidson, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever paid Keith Davidson for the work he's done?
Mr. Avenatti, we've been here before. Move on.
Didn't I write the dedicate to your book to your daughter?
Yes, that is true.
For your book, your advance has not been earned back, right? How many have been sold?
Objection.
Sustained.
Relevance? That's an objection. Relevance.
I guess it has to be relevance. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, how many have been sold? That's also that would definitely be relevance, because whether or not
It's sold doesn't prove it true or false.
yeah.
You claimed it was on the New York Times bestseller list for 360 days, and you know it was false, right?
I didn't give a number of days.
Did you ever agree with the statement?
I don't remember.
Did you fire Mr. Janklow?
I tried to.
Have you sent him a letter terminating him?
No,
So he's still your book agent.
I don't know. I don't know who's lying anymore.
I have to say, she sounds like a terrible witness. At least from Kurt's reading. Have you asked the prosecution to charge Mr. Janklow criminally?
No, I don't know what they've done to me. That's why we're here.
None of the crowd justice money was supposed to go to you personally, correct?
Correct.
But you asked me to give you $26,000 from the crowd justice money that you can buy a personal truck.
No, I did not.
You understand the payments to be for your security?
That's Brandon's company.
Just before the 60 Minutes interview, there were 2 video purchases, right?
Yes.
One was Bubba the Love Sponge, and the other a polygraph in Vegas.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Bubba the Love Sponge. Okay, continue.
Brunk, Ian.
Oh, sorry. I think we're at
Stormy.
the.
Sorry, I missed
Nani,
that.
this is you.
Yeah, and the purchases cost $100,000.
First I'm hearing of it.
Let's take a morning break. Jurors can go to the jury room, stretch your legs, and use the facilities. Don't discuss the case. Much as many might want to know who's on those 2 videotapes, but I assume you will not be asking Mr. Avenatti, and I caution you to not ask the same question again and again. Do you understand?
I'm totally Googling Bubba the Love Sponge.
Maybe not on live stream. You don't know what's going to come up.
We're going to get some funky audio.
I know. So then Avenatti says, sometimes I don't know if it's as to form. AUSA.
I'm waiting for him to come back.
AUSA, how much more of this?
2.5 hours.
Whew.
Okay, let's take our break.
And then thread will continue. They're back. Fast break. All right, Avenatti.
I'm waiting for
We need
Stormy to get back. Here she is.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even realize he got up. Or she got up. Excuse me.
You mentioned a Reiki scan. Is that by a doctor?
No, from Lisa, an energy worker and yoga instructor.
That's how you discovered the mass in your head?
Yes.
Let me ask you about your ex-husband. Didn't you write me to drop the what's that? Swap of the Legalbytes.
Sorry.
Didn't you write me to drop the suit and stop giving interviews because your husband was leaving you and taking your daughter?
Objection.
Sustained. And that's about 7 questions right there.
And
Yeah.
and
Also relevance and prejudicial and yeah. Yep.
You're suggesting I did not work to make sure the book was actually published?
Of course not.
And when you signed the book deal and got $212,000, Mr. Janklow had taken a percentage from the first payment.
Yes.
And you hadn't signed an agreement with Mr. Janklow yet.
I had not, but we had a verbal agreement. You said you've seen the agreement.
Move to strike the second part of the answer.
No.
Why would as non-responsive, she has to she's giving a complete answer. Okay, continue.
Sometimes lawyers run into this problem where you ask a question and you think you've got a yes/no question. You're trying to pin the witness down, and the witness is like, yes, but, and then they say 20 things you don't like. You can't stop the witness from answering the question fully and completely.
Yeah.
You can try to pin them down, but if they have more to say, they can say it, so long as it's on the question at least.
Right, exactly. And so far, I mean, if you guys have been following it, Avenatti, every time that he's tried to move to strike portions of what she's said, the judge is just like, nope. Bye.
This is like the bit from Liar Liar where it's like, move to strike the second portion of that answer. Why? Because it really hurts my case, Your Honor.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Do you see here under deposits the money from Crowd Justice?
Yes.
The transfers to my law firm. You don't think they were improper, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Calls for a legal conclusion.
Yeah.
After Glenn cleaned out your bank account, you gave money to others.
Objection.
Overruled.
You've got the wrong date.
You gave funds to Denver Knicks to hide from Glenn and his parents safe in Oklahoma, didn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Mr. Knicks, what did he do for you?
He was my publicist.
You also had a romantic relationship, right?
Yes.
You told Mr. Knicks about the book payments.
Yes, we lived together.
You did a TV interview with Don Lemon about your book, right?
You were with me. Yes.
And you said Michael and I are in contact every single day?
Yes.
Wasn't it true I was typically nice and respectful to you?
No, you lied to me.
Didn't you tell the government I was nice and respectful?
I was wrong.
Move to strike.
Okay.
There's nothing in the
Okay.
transcript, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean
Yeah, that's-
technically, I guess whatchamacallit. I mean, it's a moving to strike because it's a yes or no. Just because I was wrong at the time, she thought. His point is at the time she thought that he was nice and respectful.
I mean, but that still indicates an answer, though, right? That yes,
Yeah.
she did. She did.
Yeah,
Say,
yes,
she
yes
did
is
tell the government.
implied.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's a yes by implication.
Fair enough.
And I
Yeah.
mean, even if you don't like the question, or if you don't like the answer, you don't strike it. You just ask the question again if the witness is not responding to it. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
Didn't you tell the
exactly.
New York Times that watching me work was like watching the Sistine Chapel painted?
That's what you told me to say.
I cannot believe this. I
also,
like
I'm
what?
betting there was a move to strike there again.
Oh God.
Before you hired me, you researched me, right?
I Googled you the night before.
Didn't you use Wikipedia?
Yes.
Because I'm a big shot. I'm in Wikipedia. Did you write on Twitter, I'm not touching those funds, dip crap?
No, but I'm sure that I did.
No, so nobody writes your tweets?
Clarify the question. Somebody writes the tweets.
You're right. Terrible question. I suck. You post your own tweets?
I do.
Glenn said you were being dramatic, saying you needed 2 security guards.
Let's take our lunch break now.
All right.
With Jury and Stormy Daniels out of the room, Avenatti says he may have less than an hour left.
Since Mr. Avenatti's subpoena productions are due tomorrow, I'd suggest the U.S. not rest its case until Monday.
We were going to ask the same.
I offered a text message as a prior inconsistent statement about the Bank of America account being or not being disclosed.
We object.
We'll leave it where it is.
Update. During the break in the SDNY cafeteria, Inner City Press can cautiously report that the 3 federal defenders as standby counsel are actively participating. The 4 were at their table with one of the FDs showing an outline to Avenatti. #plainsight. They're back.
I like his timing engines. I'll remind you, you're under oath. Who did you ask to represent you in the case about Donald Trump?
A man named Sean.
You said you always tell the truth, but that's not true, is it?
Objection.
Ask your next question.
I offer Exhibit K.
I reserve judgment.
I'll ask one more for foundation question. This is not true, is it?
No, it's not true.
Defense offers K.
Denied.
Okay, nice try.
You said rumors that I received hush money from Donald Trump were complete false, but that
Oh,
was
wait.
false.
You skipped a
I-
line.
Up
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Yeah.
You knew that letter would be sent out to millions.
Yes, the attorney told me.
Move to strike everything after yes.
Yes.
Yes, I won one. You did not a romantic encounter with Donald Trump.
It was not romantic.
You said rumors that I received hush money from Donald Trump was complete false, but that was false, wasn't it?
No, Cohen paid me.
On behalf of Donald Trump.
Yes. I did not have a relationship with Donald Trump.
Defense offers Exhibit K.
Again, denied.
Miss Daniels, what is a fact?
Objection.
Sustained. Come
I
on,
love that.
counsel.
What is a fact? Are you kidding me? Like,
How
where are you
existential do
going
you want
with
me to
that?
go? Oh, geez. Where do you want to even start?
Let's see.
Like, imagine if no one had objected and she just decided to like ramble on and on about like just wasting
Well-
everyone's time.
Well, faith is a fact. We know that. Wait.
We're doing epistemology now? Okay, that's good times.
With Anderson Cooper, were you truthful?
Yes.
Cooper asked you if that statement was a lie, and you said it was.
I don't consider coming out of a bathroom to be a relationship.
Miss Daniels, what is more important to you, being honest with this jury or being honest to Anderson Cooper?
Objection.
Sustained. I ask you to move on to a new topic.
I'd like to offer S14 and S15.
Denied.
Damn it. Didn't you state in your book that the January 2018 statement was complete BS?
It is complete BS.
Didn't your book admit you lied to Glenn?
It was before I knew him. It wasn't a lie. It was a secret.
And you and your husband sent your two longtime friends an email calling them F***uts.
Objection.
Sustained. And strike the question.
And you fired your dragons?
I asked you to fire them.
Miss Daniels, did you ever state to me that everyone was F***ing you over?
Yes.
You've been ordered to pay Donald Trump $300,000 in attorney's fees?
Yes.
And you blame me for that?
Yes.
Miss Daniels, do you wish to change any of your answers given in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained. Are we coming to a close?
Yes. Miss Daniels, how many matters did me and my firm help you with?
I don't know.
Grammar is so abysmal. Me and my firm.
Yeah.
Ugh. Do you have any proof that I ever said I would not take a fee for your book deal?
Objection.
Sustained.
No further questions at this time.
We can do the redirect. Okay. Miss Daniels, did you learn who was effing you over?
Objection. Argumentative.
Did you sign statements with respect to Mr. Trump?
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with your book deal?
No.
What did Mr. Avenatti write to you here in September 2018?
That he would find out for me about the St. Martin's payment.
And did he?
No.
No further questions.
Isn't it true you were interested in the defamation case?
No.
Did you pursue it for two more years after I terminated you as a client?
Objection.
Sustained. Ms. Daniels, you're excused.
All right. Yay.
That was great.
That was fun, right?
Yeah.
The Oscar goes to Kurt on this one.
I think
No,
so.
was-
I
yeah.
think so. That was fantastic. I'm really
Killed.
glad that I didn't play Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, which is what
Because I would have done a much more straightforward play.
Yeah, it was way better. This was way
Yes,
better.
much
Good
better,
call,
much
Ian.
better. So yes, that was very fun. What are your guys' thoughts on Avenatti's performance?
About what he expected.
Better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to get exhibits in and not, and then also getting overruled on pretty much every objection.
Yeah.
You know. My recommendation, my generalized recommendation, still stands that even if you are an attorney, you probably should have have your own counsel.
Yeah.
But I wonder
if the firm was behind him, you would think they would have represented him. They would have had someone standing in there. So I can't believe the firm is actually still behind him.
They might actually have a conflict on that.
because they were already involved in trial when they would have had to withdraw. I think that probably is one of the reasons why.
And potential liability on the part of the firm too. I don't know if it's likely, but just the potential of it might be enough to say don't touch it.
Yeah, maybe.
I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to flex some acting muscles. I enjoyed that on levels. It was great.
Of course.
And I'd like to do more. I'd like to do more, please.
That was that was fun.
And
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned it before, but as long as we're all here, I'd love to do some mock trials.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we could we'll just pull the competition problems, from various competitions that the law schools do. Why not? I'll
would
play
be fun.
witnesses. I'll play the judge. I'll play anything. It's great. I want it.
That's by the way, that I think would be really popular. If
Oh
we
yeah,
had-
no, I think it'd be extremely popular for our channel. It means
Yeah.
coordinating a whole bunch of lawyers though at one place to do it, but it'd be great. I think it'd be fun to do some mock trials.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that would be
Maximum
fun.
grift.
No, seriously.
We could
the way to
we
do
can
it-
have a whole like event around it where people can even like show up. They can buy tickets for it.
Oh yeah.
No, I actually think we should make it. Shouldn't be like associated with one of our channels. I think we should like jointly make a channel and just like set something up that way. I think that's it's a really interesting novel thing where it's and I think that's a great idea, Kurt. I really
We
do.
can call it Mock Trial with Judge Reinhold. Mock Trial with Judge Reinhold.
Yeah,
It's
From
good. It's
Arrested
good.
Development.
It's good practice and
that's-
gives something of a taste of keep skilling you sharp. It's all good. And Runkle
Yeah.
can learn all about U.S. procedure more than he
I
ever
was-
wanted to know.
I was gonna say that's I might be. At a
How'd you like to be a
disadvantage
U.S.
on-
lawyer, Runkle? Great.
Oh man, so that was super fun. I think there might be a couple super chats and then we can maybe wrap it up. Kenneth Slayer says, I think Ferengi is an ME through India for name for the French.
the Ferengi.
I don't know. Interesting. Christian Rennie says, can Avenatti request a court-appointed lawyer be demoted to assistant to help with workload and administration without cost? I mean, that seems like that kind of is what happened here with his counsel, right? Because they were apparently, reportedly by Inner City Press, they were still there. They were sharing notes, sharing outlines and whatnot. So seems like they just kind of got demoted to second chair. So I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts on that. So, and
Sounds
I
right.
think that's the last one, but let me just double check as I scroll. You know what? Probably a better way to confirm that is to go through YouTube Studio. Boppity boop. Talk amongst yourselves.
Da-da-da-bum-bum. All right.
Okay, let's see.
I want to swing on the chandelier here.
We're gonna have to make some
Chandelier
rules for this new channel,
here.
including the whole singing rules.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't pepper spray through the internet. This is not good.
Oh man. Okay, let's see supers. Sorry, here we go. It took me a minute. Okay, yeah, that was the last super chat. So so thank you guys for joining me. That last
great.
dramatic reading was super fun.
Mhm.
And I think we should definitely do something like that again. That was great. And any of you guys have any other thoughts on anything coming up or words of wisdom before we head out of here?
Statistics say that at least 25% of you who are watching this right now are not subscribed to Legalbytes. So shame on you. Hit the subscribe button, please. Oh,
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I appreciate that. And while you're at it, subscribe to Runkle of the Bailey, subscribe to Uncivil Law, subscribe to Good Logic. You can check us all out on Locals and Twitter, of course. All the fun social media platforms.
And YouTube. So there you go.
Yes. Right here, guys. Before just I guess one last plug on the Dragon's Treasure tea. Use promo code Legalbytes so you get 10% off and you support the channel here. Both just generally speaking with the channel and in this particular competition because I need to take down Eric Hunley because it must be done. He's a really good guy, generally speaking. So don't take that as any kind of statement against him. He's wonderful, but I have to win. Anyhow, that'll do it for me. And I will see you guys in the next